Alright, grab your tea, let's get started. This will be working a top-down version of the granny flare dress. So if you want to be able to pull the dress over your head like a t-shirt in order to put it on, we'll be working up that version of the bodice first, and then later on I'll give you option B so that you could add a zipper or buttons or have a keyhole for the dress, and it'll give you some more space to get in. I have 4 colors. I've already put them on the screen, but here's what they look like. There's the ice blue. This is the sage. This is the leaf green. And this is the mocha. I don't know how many balls of yarn we're gonna need. I haven't made this dress since the first time I made it, and I don't think I used all of the 4 colors that I used for them. And I wasn't starting with full balls of yarn because I had been using that yarn for other projects. But to begin, we'll chain 60. You'll need about 3 chains for each cluster, and we'll start with about 22 clusters. This makes a size small slash a size 4 for the dress, so you'll want to add, each cluster is about 1 inch, so if you start with 24 inches or 24 clusters instead of 22, you may end up with about a medium. 26 may get you a large, but it's very modular, and so you'll be able to sort of play around with the number of stitches that you use, but this is just to get it over your head. Excuse me. So we'll start with about 60 stitches, and I think that gives us about a 26-inch opening, or a 24-inch opening. We're going to find out. We'll measure. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's my 60 chains, and that measures out to, oh yeah, you can't see that on camera, can you? So, in a relaxed position, that's about 17 inches. Of course it will have some stretch, and I could really pull this thing out. But I'll do a few more so that I've got an even, let's say, 20 inches or so. So I'll just do like 6 more chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives us a grand total of about 66 chains. Yeah. I'm nearly to 20. I'll take that. That's fine. So after you have your 66 chains, again, you could do that smaller or bigger depending on the size of the dress that you are going to make. We will connect these 2 to make our loop. And then chain 2. Crochet around the chain, not into it, but around your first double crochet and your second double crochet. We'll chain 2 for our first corner, and then begin doing granny clusters all the way around the chain. Oh. And there go my magnets. I chain 1 in between my granny squares. If you chain 2, by all means keep doing that. If you start your rows for granny squares with a chain 3 instead of a chain 2, that's also fine. However you crochet your granny squares is up to you. I don't have any big ideas or expectations about what that looks like for you. I start by crocheting them together, and then I'll space them out once I've got a few. So it starts to look like this. They don't really start to cluster until the second one, but we've got our first corner. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to know how many for each side. Whoopsies, be right back. Alright, I'm back. We're going to do 9 per side, and then 2 in the center. So, if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters so far, I'll need to do 5 more before I add a corner. If I could get a grip. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need one more. Did I chain? Nope. That's okay. Okay, now I've got 9 clusters for my first side. Looks a bit like this. Now I'm going to add a corner. So that's chain 2 for me. And I'm going to add 2 clusters. So the 2 clusters around the corner create a rectangle shape. And then I'll add another corner, I'll do my 9, add a corner, and then I'll be able to connect my last stitch to my first cluster. So, grab a sip of tea. We'll do 9 more. So, chain 2 to make your corner, and then clusters all the way around. right. That's my corner. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chain 2, last cluster of 3, double crochets, chain 1, and connect my first to my last with a slip stitch. So the chain, I give you a bit more space. And it doesn't quite work as a corner just yet, but we will sort of get the idea on the next row. So go ahead, put that over your head, see if it fits, right? Yeah, those are my corners. Also, the bigger that you make this, then the deeper the neckline will be, so keep that in mind. And you can start other sizes here. You'll just make the sort of bib for the bodice bigger, depending on your size needs. So for the second row, we're just going to go around. So the great thing about granny squares is that they grow by themselves. Now, I don't know if you flip your granny squares back and forth when you are making them. That's how I tend to do it. That way I don't have to slip stitch over to a corner. So we've just finished our row. This is the front. I was working toward the left. So instead of slip stitching to hop into my corner here, I'm going to chain 2 and then turn my work so that I can work in this chain 1 space instead. So I've chained 2, I'll add 2 more double crochets, and from here I've got my first corner on the other side. So I'll chain 1 and crochet into my corner. So I'll do 1 cluster, chain 2, and my second cluster into that same space. So now you can really see that peak for that corner. And then we just keep working around. If you want to switch colors for each row, you can do that. If you're working just one color for a while, whatever you want to do, however you make your granny squares. I've come to my next corner. I'm going to do one cluster, chain 2, and do a second cluster in the same space. I'm at my next corner. So we'll do the same thing. One cluster, chain 2, one cluster into the same space. And I'm already to the end, and so I'm in my last corner. I'll make my corner. Chain 1 and connect my last stitch to my first. So that is round 1 and 2 completed, and as you can see, the chain is a little bulky right there, but if we just stretch it out a little, it sort of evens itself out between all of our stitches. So we've got our corners, which create the front and the back of this piece. So if we fold it in half, this is what it will look like on the neck. If you wanted, you could do more clusters before you turn the corner, so you could make it more square rather than rectangular. So instead of having 2 clusters here, you could have 3 or 4 before you turn. This will give you a slightly V-neck shape, but if you don't want that, then adjust accordingly, I guess. I really don't know how to help you on that one. So that is our first 2 rows. I'm going to switch colors and do a 3rd row to show you, just so that everybody gets the idea. And then once I'm done with that, then once the bodice grows enough, we'll be able to move on to next steps. So don't forget your tea, we don't want it to get cold. I'm going to switch colors without cutting my thread, because I'll just unravel this in order to show the sort of flat version of the bodice rather than the version in the round. So I am going to pull off some of this sage. Create my slip knot. And when adding a new color for me, sometimes I'll add it in the corner, but I want to keep my sort of chains in a similar spot. That way it'll make it easier for me to weave in the ends at the end, as it were. So instead of moving into a corner, I'm just going to flip my work over like I would if I were continuing with the blue and attach right into the stitch space right next to where I would have started my chain and turned my work. So I'll chain 2, and my first cluster, and then into my corner. So in order to make the bodice, you just keep doing this. You just keep going around until the sides reach the shoulder length that you want it to be. And then after that, you can, instead of working completely in the round, if you need it to be longer to accommodate your bust, you'll just work with the front sides. So if this were all the way out to my shoulder and I was happy with that, but I needed some more length in the front and the back, then I would start working in this corner and just moving back and forth from corner to corner in order to give myself some more length to accommodate my bust. But for now, we just keep working in the round, and we will get to that step when we get to that step. So. Now that I'm at the end of the row, I will connect my rows together. And so that is 3 rows for the beginning of the granny flare bodice. So as you can see, if we fold this in half again, it looks like that. So this is going to be the shoulder, and then this will work its way down to be the bust and the back. So just keep working until this feels wide enough for you. And again, measure, measure, measure. So if you're putting 2 chains in between your granny squares instead of just 1, that will affect the sizing. If you do 3 in the corner instead of 2, that will affect the sizing. So all things to keep in mind while you are working. So that is for the flat bodice in the round. Now I'm going to frog this and show you what it looks like to do a split, so that you will be able to add a zipper, buttons, etc., etc.